Good morning, my name is Evelyn Moreno and I am the project coordinator for the Metamorphosis project, and I also serve as research and administrative support for the many projects that are up here on this slide. Today we're going to talk to you about Metamorphosis, the project, and the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative, and some of the projects that they each encompass. As you can tell by the diagram, there is some overlap. Because these are some cross-disciplinary projects that involve both communication, research, and journalism practice. Metamorphosis focuses on the evolution of communication under the impact of globalization and new technologies on communities, and the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative evolved from an effort to share lessons learned between two of the school's community news sites, and a focus on how to take some of these theories and apply them in practice to journalism. We'll start with an overview of Metamorphosis and then talk about some of its projects. Then we'll also talk about the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative. So the Metamorphosis project was founded by Sandra Barrow-Kish. She's a principal investigator. And some of our presenters today are Wenlin Liu and George Villanueva, and myself. Here we go. So this is a bit of a roadmap into our Metamorphosis presentation. I'm going to talk to you about the communication infrastructure theory. George Villanueva will talk to you about the Northeast Los Angeles Riverfront Collaborative, and Wenlin Liu will talk about the Alhambra project, and not exactly in that order, but that's what we'll talk about. So communication infrastructure theory is what guides our research, and it basically states that the connections between residents and families, community organizations, and geoethnic media, and also the communication action context, so the environment surrounding those connections, affect the storytelling network. The storytelling network states basically if the connections are strong between community and nonprofit organizations, geoethnic media, and residents. If those connections are strong, then there's a stronger sense of belonging, civic participation, and collective efficacy, so that neighbors can come together and take action on problems that they see in their communities. So these are some of our methods that we use. We use secondary data analysis, tours of the study area. We do GIS mapping of communities, systematic social observation, and interviews and ethnography. We have done this type of research with community organizations, residents, and geoethnic media. These are some of the communities that we have gone in and studied. You can see there's Glendale, Greater Monterey Park, Cudahy, Southgate, and as you can see that their ethnic demographic compositions are different depending on what city you're in. So we're going to skip over the Northeast Los Angeles project for now, and Wenlin Liu is going to talk to you about the Alhambra project.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Wenlin Liu. So I'm fourth-year doctoral candidate at Annenberg School. I work on the Alhambra project since 2010 when I entered the program, actually. So today, I'm going to report some of the major research evaluation projects we're undertaking in the past year. So Alhambra Source, the Alhambra project, and also the news website Alhambra Source was a collaborative effort between the School of Journalism and the School of Communication here at Annenberg, which is led by Professor Barrow-Kish and Professor Michael Parks. Launched in September 2010, the Alhambra Source was during the past three. The Alhambra Source was a trilingual news website focused about community stories about the city, the community of Alhambra. So over the past 3 years, the site has really grown steadily. Till now, more than 90 community contributors have participated in contributing news for this website, as well as other source-related activities. Right now, we have a stable group of news contributing and news editing team from the community. So Nazarene was one of the news editing team of the Alhambra project. And also, we have a group of doctoral student researchers like me. We're actively working on various projects about this community and also about the impact of Alhambra Source. For my presentation today, I'm going to focus on the research side of the initiative. So let me quickly refresh your memories about kind of the key objectives of the Alhambra Source. So first, why did we choose Alhambra as in the first place to launch our news website? So the city of Alhambra represents one of those emerging communities where multi-ethnic and immigrant populations are fast growing. So for a city like that, what comes with this diversity is also the challenge the city faces. So compared to its neighboring cities, such as South Pasadena, Alhambra has relatively lower level of civic engagement and lower level of residents show lower level of neighborhood belonging. So our goal, therefore, is to create a common space to promote local and multilingual storytelling that has the potential to translate into better community building outcomes and better residents' engagement. Like other projects of Metamorphosis, we followed a participatory, multi-level, multi-method research, which include survey analysis, local media content monitoring, in-depth interviews with important stakeholders of the communities, and many more. Here, I'll focus on reporting two evaluation efforts we're undertaking for the past year. So the first evaluation effort is our second wave of resident survey. So our baseline study, where the first wave trilingual survey was launched in 2010. So from that study, one important finding we found from our first wave survey was the demarcation of the storytelling network among residents in Alhambra. So for three major ethnic groups in Alhambra, the ethnic Chinese, the Hispanic population, and the Anglo, we found there is very little crossed over across the storytelling network for those three major groups, which mean for each group in Alhambra, they tend to talk to each other. They use a set of communication resources that does not really speak to each other. So that's what we called, while there is this ethnically bounded network in Alhambra. And we thought that might be the reason why Alhambra has relative low level of civic engagement and low level of neighborhood belonging, because it seems like separate storytelling network was not, there was nothing bridge across those groups. So for our second wave of survey, this is actually ready in the field right now. So supplementing the telephone survey this time, we also launched the online surveys with the hope to reach a broader group of Alhambra residents. So we are interested to compare the results with the baseline study, in particular, compared to 3 years ago, and also with the active efforts of the Alhambra Source to bridge the community. We would like to see, is there any discernible effect on Alhambra residents' civic outlook and the community engagement level. So the second evaluation project we're having right now, it's a series of in-depth interviews with city officials and media producers in Alhambra. So we want to see if Alhambra Source is effective in fulfilling local information needs. And especially, how is Alhambra Source able to set or influence the public and the media agenda for this particular neighborhood? Our interviews with city council members, including the mayors of the city, informed us that the source has entered the news agenda of the city officials. It has also become a venue to provide citizen voices for which the city may not be able to access otherwise. One of the recent news is we recently won a research grant from this International Communication Association Urban Community Grant. So using this grant, we would like to build on the long-term research goals. We would like to expand our research to look at the role of place-based storytelling and also the solution-based news narratives in enhancing intergroup relations and civic engagement in Alhambra. Over the years, our research has turned into a few actually many publications and conference presentations. So here I list those sources here for your references. And if you're interested, please contact us at alhambrasource.org or Metamorphosis Research Group. Thank you. I think I'll pass the floor to Evelyn to continue our other projects on Metamorphosis.
Daniela Gerson, the director of the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative and also the editor of the Alhambra Source, could not be with us today because she's with her family for Passover. So instead you get me. I'll be presenting on the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative, and Daina Solomon will talk specifically about another community site that Annenberg supports, Intersection South LA. So what is the Civic Engagement and Journalism Initiative? Well, it brings theory into action. It provides a shared space where scholars, students, journalists, and community members can collaborate on research-driven news projects. It's innovative in that it creates online community news outlets that promote civic engagement. And it is global because the project investigates how to cross ethnic and linguistic boundaries in increasingly globalized Los Angeles. These are 4 highlights of this year that we found particularly exciting. Weibo, a collaboration with the Alhambra Police Department, the creation of USC Annenberg Reporter Corps, and USC Annenberg Cross-Curriculum Development, as well as a new and improved Intersection South LA. Alhambra Source was selected from dozens of ethnic media outlets in Los Angeles to be recognized for a Community Advocate Award in 2013. It was chosen for a story that highlighted how the city was not allowing homeless to sleep in churches. The story is a good example of how the site is putting storytelling in the hands of residents so that they can impact policy.
I'm Andrea Hoffman. I am a barber at Main Street Barber. Yay! And an Alhambra resident.
I'm Irene Dominguez, and I own Main Street Barbers, and I love it. Paul, I worked with Paul for 20 years, and he was just a fabulous barber. He had been actually working in Alhambra for like 60 years, and he just had a bad heart, and it just took a toll on him, and he had a massive heart attack, and he passed away. It was a big impact. You know, Paul had 14 kids, and when I called one of the daughters to tell him that there's a story in the paper about your dad, you know, for her to get on the internet and look it up, and they just were like, oh my God, I can't believe this. They were just like overwhelmed. The family was like so like happy, thankful, and grateful that, you know, he was recognized for being in Alhambra, in the community for so long.
Why? Because we need to, we're so diverse. There's so many different cultures. There's so many different things.
True.
We need to reach out to each and every thing. Main Street Barbers now, you know, before there wasn't, there wasn't as many Asian customers that we had. Now we have so many Asian, it's just a mix of everything, which is what Alhambra, I think, is. It's a big melting pot of a little bit of everything. So, yay, Alhambra! Yay.
Alhambra Source celebrated its 3rd birthday and created videos such as the one you just saw with different community members, community contributors, and researchers who were impacted. The story was from workers at Main Street Barber Shop, and shortly after we actually profiled the owner, he died, and there was an outpouring of support for a man who would have probably never been recognized otherwise had he not been featured on the site. Alhambra Police Department Weibo. This is one of the most exciting and unexpected partnerships. An Alhambra Source community contributor story on how to improve outreach to Chinese community resulted in collaboration with the Alhambra Police Department and an immigrant integration initiative using Weibo, a Chinese microblogging platform similar to Twitter. In less than 10 days, the Alhambra Police Department's account grew to more than 5,000 followers. Today, it is approaching 10,000 followers. As the first police department in the United States to launch a Weibo account, immigrants in the San Gabriel Valley and from across the country, as well as residents of China, have written in with questions about American police. These include, how old must my child be to be left at home? Or, what do I do if I'm involved in a hit and run? And when should I call 911? We are developing a trilingual booklet of the responses to share with the Alhambra community and potentially other communities. And other cities are also taking notice. San Francisco, Seattle, San Leandro, San Jose, and Monterey Park police departments have contacted Police Chief Mark Yokoyama with questions about how to set up a Weibo account and translation strategies. Chinese residents from across the country have written to say that they wish their cities would also create an account. Reporter Corps trains young adults in journalistic ethics and practice, multimedia storytelling skills, and how their local government works so that they can report on their own communities. Reporter Corps participant stories are distributed on multiple levels, locally via Annenberg's community websites, Alhambra Source and Intersections South LA, and as well as through partnerships with national and regional outlets. In the first year, we have collaborated with nearly a dozen outlets, including Zocalo, Hetchinger Report, Time.com, KPCC, KCRW, New American Media, and World Journal. In addition, we host community forums to raise awareness and stimulate dialogue. For example, Shanice Joseph was a participant from Watts this summer in the South LA program. She wrote about lack of support for community college students in her community, and that's the story you see up there. The story, which ran in Intersections, Hetchinger Report, Zocalo, and Time, resulted in her receiving feedback from dozens of readers from as far away as South Africa to Nebraska to the San Fernando Valley. One offered to pay her bus fare while she was in school, and another invited her to attend the National Association of Black Journalists, and others sent inspirational videos. We also used the South LA Reporter Corps to inform a new program to introduce South Los Angeles to USC students. The objective was that they would be better equipped to report on the community surrounding the university. The response was overwhelmingly positive. We also are teaching the second ASCJ class offered. The first one is taught by the Dean and Jeff Cohen. It has an energetic enrollment of 19, and we hope will be a model for more cross-school collaborations moving forward. The South LA Reporter Corps was also integrated into the curriculum with presentations that included USC students to communities. So one of the communities was Manchester Square, and I will try to show you another video.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Skylar Inslee Myers. We're in my backyard right now, South Central Los Angeles. Going overhead right now is an airplane. Every 10 or 15 minutes, an airplane flies by.
Compton, Long Beach, Inglewood, South Central, out to the west.
When they think of South Central, they think of crime, gangs, hyper-violent 90s rap culture. They don't really see the positive sides. But this is a street full of very colorful houses. This is my block that I've grown up on. I've lived here since I was 7 years old. A lot of family houses, some are single-parent household. My family has been here for basically 3 generations. My grandma moved to San Fernando Valley from West Virginia, and my grandpa moved from Oklahoma. They decided to come down to South Central because of the hip music scene and the thriving African-American culture that was going on in the 60s. All right, so now we're gonna go over to Madeire's Bistro, located on 78th and Western. And I'm gonna take you guys to this restaurant because it's my favorite place to get chicken and waffles in South LA.
I'm Chef Norman. One of the greatest places I've ever worked at as far as food service is concerned.
Yeah, and why is that?
One, we have a great menu. We have a great customer base. It's just a pleasure to come to work every day.
And favorite item on the menu?
One of the biggest things that I sell the most is our turkey meatloaf. Also, we have something that's called a soul burrito, red beans and rice with fried chicken in it and cheese.
You said you have a lot of customers who come back all the time and you remember their faces and everything.
Yeah, we have a lot of regulars that come around. One guy, his name is Joe. He comes in pretty much every day. Ernest comes in every day. The pastor comes in every day.
I'm Reverend Darnell Jones, the First Missionary Baptist Church on the corner of 57th and Hooper. And I've been pastoring there for 19 years.
So I just want to know a few things that you like about the area.
South Central specifically, probably the fact that everything is at hand. If you want to eat well, it's right up the street. Going to sports, whether you're going to movies, whether you're trying to just interact with people. Got great churches all throughout the city, so there are no excuses for folk not worship.
Yeah, right on. I like that answer. What things do you feel need improvement?
Of course, nobody likes the fact that there is still a lot of violence. I don't like the idea that so many of our men are either incarcerated on the streets or places where they should not be, and that the young men are raising themselves.
through canals and alleyways, just to say money trees is the perfect place for shade.
Right now we're standing at the end of my block. There's a crack alley. It's not as active as it was when I was younger, but you'll still see crackheads, drunks passed out here. This is one of the things that I don't really like about my neighborhood. It's not like I'm trying to criminalize anybody. It's just that whenever I walk down the street and I pass by this alley, I think of how the crack epidemic was the downfall for the Black Los Angeles community. If you're a newcomer coming into this area, you should probably first realize there are gang affiliations, and if you do look like you're not from the area, you will stand out as an outsider. So the things you could do to just not stick out too much is probably bring someone who looks like they're affiliated with the area. That's pretty much all I have to say about the advice for coming around here. Check out the food. People are cool. Nice place to shop for some good cheap things. And check you guys later.
So that was by Skylar Myers, a South LA Reporter Corps participant. This is an example of a Reporter Corps story that we posted on Intersection South LA, and it was also on Take 2 on KPCC as part of a new series, and was presented to students as part of the South LA presentations. And that's all. Now, Daina Solomon will talk to you about Intersection South LA.
Okay, hello, good morning. I am Daina Solomon. I am a first-year graduate student in the journalism program here at Annenberg. I am also the editor for Intersections, working with Daniela Gerson from Civic Engagement Institute, and also our director and founder, Willa Seidenberg. Let me start by giving you an overview of the site. It was inspired by these two questions. How can journalists develop news websites so that people can connect with one another and with their communities, especially when those communities are among the poorest in LA and have often been neglected by mainstream media? So of course, Intersections focuses on South LA. It grew into a multifaceted site since being founded around 2009. We spent some time last semester honing in on the objectives of the site, and we realized this is the focus, to have news, features, and resources about South LA, to focus on quality of life issues, education, business, immigration, healthcare, and the environment being some of our top issues. And also to have a platform for community members to express themselves as well, to have a way to show their voices and not just be some students in a journalism school saying what we think about South LA. The Reporter Corps program that Evelyn just talked about, and we have one participant here, Miguel, is one of the ways that we've been able to bring those South LA voices to the site, and I hope that's a program that we can continue. So that's also one reason that makes Intersections unique as a website, as a news site. Of course, another huge objective for Intersections is to serve students here at USC by giving them an amazing opportunity to cover a neighborhood that isn't often in the news media or is only in the media once in a while whenever something big and maybe scandalous happens. But there's so much more that goes on every day. People's daily lives make for fascinating stories. So for students here, and of course South LA is right in our backyard. So for students here, that's an incredible opportunity to find many fascinating things to cover. And of course, we're not a fast-paced news operation. So there's a lot of time for students and resources here with the professors and everything at Annenberg to really delve into stories in depth, to have context, cultural sensitivity in the reporting, so that these are truly rich stories. And of course, most often these projects and articles support the curriculum of the journalism program. Students often begin their articles in classes and then continue editing for the website. So it goes hand in hand with what they're studying here. I joined the site in September. One major improvement that we've had since I think about this summer was the conversion to a WordPress platform. So this is about what the site looks like right now. So now with WordPress, it's very clean and professional and engaging. We're using a new logo, which we have across all of our platforms for consistent branding. We've also been, playing around with the site just this semester, adding a lot more content on the homepage. It looks a little tight up there, but it's actually pretty exciting. There's a lot of photos, a lot of things to click on to keep you engaged. And still focusing on the main topics that you see in the menu on the top: arts, business, community, education, health, politics, and opinion. Another big accomplishment has been developing a solid staff. We have 7 committed students from undergrad and graduate, as well as an editorial fellow from the Reporter Corps program, who is Skylar, who you saw in the video a minute ago. So we meet every week, and we kind of discuss strategy for the website, as well as our own reporting and what we can do to make this into a good project for us and for the community. This photo is from a couple weeks ago. Our staff took a trip to the Leimert Park Art Walk, and this is some of our staff with also some community members from Leimert Park. Let's see, and I also want to mention that this semester we brought on a advisor, Professor Gabrielle Banks, who's an adjunct professor, and she has been working with us on all of our stories. So every story goes through 2 edits, first through me and then through Professor Banks. So it's an amazing, as a student, I can say it's an amazing opportunity to work closely with an editor. Gabby gives us a lot of coaching and advice and mentoring, and she's always available. And that kind of interaction is something that is really special and that isn't easy to find necessarily in classes all the time. So since last September, we've published 63 original posts, plus 14 articles by Reporter Corps, and a news roundup 3 times a week. So there's a lot of fresh content. Let me tell you about some of the articles we've published. 3 topics we've looked at in particular are education, health, and business. As far as education, there's been a lot of stories where we've explained the South LA angle to a national story, such as changes to the SAT. As far as health, we've covered a lot about healthcare access and food justice in South LA. Something like community gardens has been like a focus. As well, we've been looking at the business environment right now in Leimert Park. There's a new metro subway station coming in, and that is going to bring a lot of changes to the neighborhood. This is an example of a new art gallery that is opening and could suggest some of the changes happening in the neighborhood. We've also been covering oil drilling. There are 3 sites very close to USC in densely populated neighborhoods. And they've been a lot of controversy because they could be causing health hazards for the neighbors. So we've taken a look at those 3 sites, and we have more planned coverage coming up. We've also been collaborating a bit with a communications course taught by Mike Anneny, and hope that we'll continue that collaboration to meld stories with data and research. We are also, this semester, we've been publishing once a week different profiles of local nonprofits and what they're doing in South LA. This is a way for us to show what's going on in the neighborhoods and who is behind these projects. It's also a way for these nonprofits to get more attention. And this project has been done by Skylar, who you also saw in the video. So it's just been a great way to have something from the community every week on our site. We've also just launched a new project called South LA versus South Central, What's in a Name? About 10 years ago, in 2003, the city of LA decided to change the name South Central to South LA. It was part of an effort to halt the stigma of the neighborhood about the gangs and the shootings and the violence. But now we're wondering, what difference did that make, if any? And more importantly, what do people say about this? And when we ask people, which name do you prefer, what can that help us to learn about how things have developed over 10 years in South LA? These are just a few examples of some of the responses, and this is an ongoing project. We're encouraging readers to submit responses online on the website, and we're also going out and doing interviews. So we're hoping to get maybe a couple of dozen by the end of the semester, and then compile it into some kind of multimedia project that might help us understand any recent trends over the past 10 years, or just what people think. Carlos is an organizer working with a social justice organization. Captain Prokop is the captain at Newton Division in historic South Central. Mike the Poet is a longtime writer in LA. And Jonathan Williams is the CEO of a charter school close to campus. So this is going to be an ongoing project. And then, of course, we are looking forward to next year in the new building. As you know, there will be a converged newsroom. Intersections will maintain its unique individual identity as a community news site. There will also, we are anticipating having a South LA desk in the newsroom that will bring together contributions about South LA from across the newsroom, across the different classes and levels of students. And as the staff at Intersections, we hope we can help guide that coverage by having some input based on our experience in the community, offering instruction and ideas about how to best cover sensitive topics that students may come across. So we are definitely on a solid path to continuing the work that has gone on since September. Thank you.
Apologize again for being a little late, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the Northeast Los Angeles Riverfront Collaborative. It is a place-based project around planning around the river in the Northeast communities. And again, Evelyn talked a little bit about just the approach that Metamorphosis takes in terms of being place-based and doing research and also engagement practice in the communities in LA. So this project really builds off the last 15 to 20 years of interest in revitalizing the river. Yes, there is a LA River, and a lot of the perception about the LA River is really the concrete that overflows the river, and really it being used as a movie backdrop for movies such as The Terminator, Grease, Italian Job, and so forth. But with all the revitalization going on now, it's really about really restoring that natural habitat. And where we come in is we want to make sure that the communities, especially the communities around sections of the river that have been not as revitalized, actually benefit from all this interest in the river. So we've partnered up with several different city agencies, community organizations, public media, and private sector to really think about a collaborative approach to doing place-based planning. And again, just a little bit of history about the river. The river is actually 51 miles all the way from the San Fernando Valley exiting in the San Pedro Bay. Within the city of Los Angeles, it's about 31 miles. We're looking at a 10-mile stretch, which is called the Glendale Narrows in Northeast Los Angeles, and it's actually the softest bottom of the area. So the reason why it was concretized or channelized in the 1940s was because there was a major flood that took out, as you can see, the bridges and so forth, and really affected a lot of the houses around the banks. So the Army Corps, who own actually jurisdiction of the LA River, the mid-path, concretized it, but couldn't really concretize the area that we're looking at because it has some of the most softest bottom. And actually, they do kayaking programs. And if you're interested in actually kayaking the river, you can actually, it's going on for the second year, starting during Memorial Day. So again, that's just kind of the map that we're looking at, and also it's a 10-mile stretch within the 51 miles. And we have 5 riverfront distinct neighborhoods: Atwater Village, Glassell Park, Elysian Valley, Cypress Park, and also Lincoln Heights, which is adjacent to downtown and also Dodger Stadium. So it's just northeast of downtown LA, really. Again, our collaborative effort is funded by a Partnership for Sustainable Communities grant from the HUD, DOT, EPA federal partnership. It's a $2.25 million grant that was received by the city, but we're one of the major partners in that grant. These are some of our collaborating agencies, from city agencies to nonprofits to economic development sector to public media, KCT departures. Our three main goals are to engage the community around kind of identifying this Northeast LA Riverfront district in the area, creating a comprehensive implementation planning and economic development effort. And again, so much planning is focused just on the physical land use of land in the area. What we're doing is actually trying to also link it to the people, link it to job development, link it to different kind of engagement activities that really get the community involved. And lastly, we're trying to create a model of engagement in public media to foster civic participation in the area and to really kind of talk about economic development in that way. One other piece of history is this project was originally a community redevelopment agency project. And 2 years ago, Governor Brown asked actually all the agencies in the state, and that really affected LA as not having an economic development mechanism to really do economic development in the city. So what we're actually doing is kind of innovative work to really help the city rethink approaches to economic development when you do not have that type of agency in the area. So we're really trying to reframe it to actually really think about place-based communities. So that's what we're trying to do. And our 5 program elements kind of look at, again, our primary element, since we're an economic development and planning project, is really looking at creating sustainable economic development policy in the area. Second is really coordinating the different types of urban planning efforts and planning that's going on, including placemaking, which is a new kind of, it's really reframing kind of past efforts to really building a sense of place through kind of building smaller projects that are kind of placemaking projects, but also kind of connecting people again to the area. Third is, again, we're looking at workforce development. And one of the workforce development and job creating strategies that we're doing is really creating a regional food hub in the area that really not only stores food practices for the region, but also creates job opportunities, again, for the local folks. And the fourth and fifth element, which really serve as the umbrella engagement piece to our policy goals, is civic engagement research and practices, and also media and technology tool development that really are harnessed to actually support the economic development policy goals that we're doing. And that's where Metamorphosis and USC lead that effort of both the civic engagement and media and technology effort. And some of the just different strategies that we've been doing that are both community-based research kind of approaches and also practice-based approaches are we've worked with the collaborative to develop a community-based survey where we went door to door with with the collaborative and also with college interns to really ask the residents who live in the 5 neighborhoods just what are the current conditions in the neighborhood and also how they want to see the neighborhood improve. So that's just kind of an example of our survey and also how we broke out the neighborhoods and really created manageable walking sub-areas so interns can go on as partnered groups to really kind of interview the residents in the area and also small businesses in the area too. We also created a small business survey. We created a college intern program to kind of increase the capacity of our engagement efforts, but also to really give universities, not only USC, but also across the Southern California, and some actual students, interns came from the East Coast and also came from the UK and France to actually intern in our program. It was during the summer, so they had breaks, so they were just really interested in really getting involved in engaged research, kind of urban planning, and really kind of thinking about the LA River. We also, when you engage the community, it's kind of difficult to kind of throw very policy-oriented economic development or workforce development issues at them. So what we did is really build those policy issues around kind of engaging the community first with popular education strategies, such as this activity called Build Jobs, who we partnered with James Rojas, who actually uses kind of found objects to kind of create engagement activities. So we would actually prep the community first with engaging practices such as this, and then get them more educated around kind of deeper policy issues and hold panel discussions and education workshops around policy issues such as workforce development. So our media strategy and our kind of media partnership has been twofold. KCT Departures has been a great partner, especially working with us as a communication research facility, is that we've definitely used kind of website development, email newsletters, social media tools, and so forth to kind of create an online presence and multimedia presence for the project to engage the community. But what we found and what we found as very effective is we've had to really integrate that into kind of physical kind of installations in the community, such as this kiosk where we have prompts and people, we would place it in public gathering places where residents would come and answer the prompts, like how do you want to see your river, and actually post it on the kiosk, and we would collect those responses. But also, again, face-to-face has been completely critical to this project, since it's a place-based local community research and engagement practice. So really getting out there and really not only door-to-door surveys, but again, as I mentioned before, but really kind of being at events and helping that out. So again, we've done placemaking workshops, really focusing on helping the community with different types of visuals, kind of think about how they want to kind of reimagine their place along the river and in the neighborhoods. And again, this is, lastly, this is an overview of pretty much our engagement practice of what we did. Again, we held 5 summer workshops that were very policy-oriented around kind of the more urban policy and urban planning issues. We held placemaking workshops, and we also collected different surveys in the area. And our outcomes are really a Northeast LA Riverfront vision plan and economic development strategy. As you can see right here, this is a draft. It's 300 pages at this moment, but very much what we're trying to shorten, but it's actually going to be an officially adopted city document. And lastly, Metamorphosis is actually, we're creating the project evaluation and toolkit to actually share with other grantees across the nation who were funded by the HUD grant. And also, it will all be around kind of engagement strategies around research and media and technology and so forth, to really share nationally for anyone who's doing place-based economic development work. So that's it, and thank you again.